Hello and welcome to my channel where we talk about tips and tricks for teaching elementary music. Here's today's video. So today we're going to talk about the pros and cons of teaching elementary music. Let's get started. It's a Monday through Friday only gig. There's no weekend stuff like a marching band teacher would have to do, or competitions or anything like that. So that's a really good thing. Lack of planning. Sometimes you will have that. I remember one school year where I had one planning period the entire year, 29 classes every single week. Sometimes you have more planning, sometimes you have less. It just depends on the way they do the schedule at that school. You get to start the first day as all the other teachers. You don't have to come in early like a marching band teacher would have to be coming in and working with those students early to get them ready for the season. Sometimes you have a lack of space. I have taught on a stage on a cart where I'm going to the classrooms. I have taught in the cafeteria before. I have taught in my own classroom, and sometimes your classroom that you have might be in a mobile unit where you're having to deal with the elements going in and out. Sometimes it might be a really small space. You just never know. So lack of space could be an issue. You will likely only do 2 to 4 evening performances a school year. So that's really good because you get a chance to showcase your students, and you're not having to go anywhere to do it. It's at your location where you're teaching. You're not traveling to do these performances. So it's really a good experience for the kids to get that stage experience and the parents to get to see their kids do something musical. You will probably have 2 to 4 evening performances, and since you're working with elementary kids, you don't have a built-in backstage team like you might with a middle or a high school where you could pull in maybe their drama group or something. So you're having to ask staff members to be your curtain pullers and your backstage people, and sometimes that's problematic. And depending on what the parents expect of what they're going to see in the performance, or what admin expects, if they're looking for perfection, it could be problematic, because little kids, no matter how well you teach them, they're not going to be perfect all the time. They're not going to be perfect most of the time when they're performing. You have 45-minute classes once a week. No hour-and-a-half classes like these secondary folks have to have. Also, you get to have them just once a week. You don't have to have them 2 or 3 days a week like you would in a block scheduling in a secondary school. Yes, but the incessant talking, oh my goodness. They don't know how to whisper. I'm telling you, they don't know how to whisper in elementary. No, they don't. No whispering at all. You get to have the same families for anywhere from up to 6+ years with the same families, and get to teach them multiple children, and you get to know the family, and you get to build that foundation and that relationship. I can't even believe that that's listed as a pro. Yeah, depending on the family. If it's a great family, sure, but if it's a family that, yeah. It can be problematic to have the same kid over and over year after year. Just depends. This is a little controversial. Your music ability as an elementary music teacher, your ability to do music, to perform music, to conduct music, does not have to be as high as somebody who's conducting several parts in an orchestra or a band setting, or multiple voice parts in a chorus setting. You don't have to be as tuned in to multiple layers of music going on at the same time. That doesn't mean that you can't be a great musician and be an elementary music teacher. That's why I said it's a little controversial. It's just not necessary. Yeah, but because of that, you can be looked at as less than when you're an elementary music teacher. Oftentimes people will be like, all you do is sing all day long, or all you do is just put a pair of sticks in their hand and a pair of maracas. What in the world's going on, right? So it could be a problem for sure. And I even had a parent once say that, what do you do when they found out that I didn't teach strings? Well, what do you teach? So, yeah. You can be silly. You can be silly, especially with kindergarten. They love it if you get down on their level and just be silly and goofy and all of that. So that's fun. Yeah, you can deal with the emotional outbursts of children that don't know how to regulate themselves and are screaming and crying and wanting to throw things and hit people and all that. And I'm not talking about students that have any sort of documentation on them like an IEP or 504. I'm talking regular general education kindergartners that just do not know how to control their emotions. It can be very much of a sensory overload, and at the end of the day, you might be sitting there going, oh, I just need some silence. There's no travel because you're not going to competitions or playing out of town or anything like that. You're not traveling. You may have to do a field trip here and there, but it's not going to be that complicated a field trip usually. I do go every year to the symphony with one of my grade levels, and I don't even arrange that. It's a district-wide trip. So I just have to teach the kids what they need to know and go on the trip with them, and their teachers come with them and everything else. You get children that cannot hold it and will have an accident in your classroom, peeing or pooping sometimes. You get vomiting, and even those that have better control, the constant interruption when you're in the middle of something. Can I go to the bathroom? Can I go to the bathroom? Can I go to the bathroom? I probably hear that 20 times in every class time. Perfection is not the goal. That's a really good thing. Perfection should never be the goal anyway, especially when we're talking a music program, because music is not always perfect. And unless you're talking a super high level person that's getting paid a lot to do a lot of stuff, it doesn't need to be the goal. Parents question your grading because first of all, they think that music shouldn't be graded anyway. And if it is, everybody should be getting an A. And on top of that, they know that their kid likes to sing and dance, and they've seen their kids play instruments at home or whatever. So the fact that their kid comes home with a grade that is not an A, they call you up and they're like, how did they get this grade? Because I know my kid loves music and blah, 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 and all that. And you put on your academic hat and say, well, they're not where a first grade student should be, or they are where a first grade student should be, and it just becomes a whole thing. Experience and foundational skills in reading are what you're teaching. And it is so rewarding to see all those light bulbs go off as the students get those concepts. And I will never forget when a middle school group came and performed for me, for my students, that it was a former student that was in the group, and they were back there playing percussion, and I just was sitting there thinking, I'm the one that taught him what the steady beat was and how to read rhythm, and it was just such a rewarding feeling. Yeah, those are great moments for sure, but there's a big lack of participation. A kid doesn't want to dance or doesn't want to play that particular instrument, and they will just have an emotional outburst over the whole situation. And no matter what you say, it's for a grade, or you reach out to the parents and talk about the fact that their kid is not participating in music, and you go back to that whole, well, why is that even graded anyway, and why is it important, and why is it necessary? So depending on the parent, depending on the child, you can't always motivate them to participate in class, and that becomes a problem sometimes. And you just kind of have to go, I'm just not going to push this child anymore because they don't want to do it, and you can't physically go up there and make them do the activity. There are a lot of transitions in elementary music. You're going from one activity to the next. I probably do roughly 7 activities in any given class time. And that means that you're not having to hang out on one song and really go into measure 20 to 35 for 25 minutes. And you get bored with it and your kids get bored with it. So the transitions make it move along faster and make it more fun. Girl, there are a lot of transitions, and that's a lot of sensory overload and a lot of remembering to turn this on and get this item ready. get this visual ready, make sure this instrument is ready, make sure scanning the kids, make sure they're with you and they're going wherever they're supposed to be going, and the routines and the procedures. And it can be a whirlwind of activity, and it can be frustrating sometimes if you don't know what you're doing. But if you've been doing it for a while, you can get used to it and make it work for you and work for your students. Bottom line, there are pros and cons to all things in life. And I think elementary music is no exception, as we can see. But if you choose to do this job instead of doing a secondary position, I still think that you will have a lot of fun doing it. And you'll be able to navigate any cons that you see on this list that you're like, I don't know about that. And lean into those pros, and it'll be a great job for you to do. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, have a great day.